Hey everybody, welcome to the first flipped video for algebra. I decided I was going to make this first one just so that way I could make sure everybody's comfortable with what we're doing. So make sure whenever we have a video, you've got your binder out in front of you, you've got a page out ready for notes. So remember, in the top right corner, you should have your name. Underneath your name, you should have today's date. On the left side, you should have the title of the video in this case, or an assignment if we have an assignment. In this case, the title of this video would just be Solving Equations 1. So make sure that you put that in for the title of the video. All right, so in this video, I want to talk a little bit about combining like terms because it seemed like there were a couple people that had issues with it when we were doing some of the practice problems, so I want to make sure that we're totally clear on what combining like terms is. So this is what a term is, and we can use some vocabulary to describe the different elements of that term. So this A here is the bottom part. We call that the base. And then this little b up there is the exponent, or sometimes we call it the power. So we've got a base and an exponent. And what we want to do is we want to find like terms. So a like term has to have the same base, same exponent. Now, what can be different about it is it can have a different coefficient out in front. So that number 4 there is called the coefficient. So if there's a number out in front, that's the coefficient. It has to have same base, same exponent, and it can have different coefficient. So when we're combining like terms, we have to think of, okay, does it have the same letter and does it have the same exponent on that letter? And that'll make a little bit more sense once we do some example problems. But make sure that you've got this written down on your paper. All right, so combining like terms is a way of simplifying an expression, and typically we use it to simplify an expression before we go through and solve for a variable. So I've got my expression up here that we're going to simplify. An expression is just a list of terms that are combined together in some way: add, subtract, multiply, or divide. An equation is when we introduce an equal sign into the problem. So in this problem here, we've got an expression and we want to simplify it. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at each term. So I've got 4x as a term, 3 as a term, 3y, negative 7x squared, 4x, and 2. Those are all my different terms in this expression. Now we want to combine like terms. So I'm going to take it one term at a time. I've got 4x. So I'm looking for another term that has the same base, so base x, with the same exponent. So in this case, there's no exponent there, which means that defaults to a 1. So I'm looking for other terms in this expression that have base x and no exponent. So if I look over here, I've got another 4x. Even though it's the same coefficient, that's fine. It can be different or it can be the same. But if I combine 4x plus another 4x, I have 8x. Now, I can't throw in that negative 7x squared because it's got a different exponent. Even though it's the same base, even though it's both base x, if it has a different exponent, I can't combine it. So then I'm going to go on to my second one. I've got 3, so my base is, I don't have a variable for my base. So I'm looking for, are there any ones that are just constants that don't have a variable? There's that plus 2 at the end, so 3 plus 2 gives me 5. So I've used this, I've used this. Now I'm going to look at 3y. Are there any other ones with base y? No, so I'm going to leave it. Plus 3y. And then we didn't get to use that either, so I've got minus 7x squared. And that's as fully simplified as we can make it. We could rewrite it in descending order, but we'll get to that later. For now, this is as simplified as we can make this one. So now we're going to move into simplifying and then using that simplification process to solve an equation. All right, so now I've got an equation in here because we introduced an equal sign. And what we're going to do is we're going to solve that equation by combining like terms first and then going through and solving for x. So if this is my equation, my first step always is going to be to make a t-chart, because remember, whatever we do to one side of the t-chart, we have to do to the other side. And we have to make sure that our equal sign is always lined up in the middle. We don't want to have an equal sign here and then have that moved around. We want to make sure that our equal sign is staying in the same spot, and we're doing the same thing on both sides. So I'm going to simplify both sides here. On the left side, I've got 3x, 4, negative 2, and 4x. So when I combine like terms, I've got two of them that have base x and exponent 1. 3x plus 4x, well, that'll give me 7x. 4 plus negative 2, or just 4 minus 2, that'll give me 2. On the right side, I have only one x, no other x's, so I have x. And then 3 minus 4, well, that gives me negative 1. 3 plus negative 4, also negative 1. Now what I need to do is I need to get my x's on the same side. So how I like to think about it is I like to move the least amount of x's that I can. So I have 7x and 1x. So I want to move this 1x because that's the least number of x's that I have to move. So if I want to move this 1x, I have to undo its operation from here. And it's being separated by addition and subtraction. So how do I undo a positive x? I have to subtract an x. And whatever I do on the right side, I have to do on the left side. So these cancel out. 7x minus an x, well, that'll give me 6x plus 2 equals negative 1. So now I've got my x's all on the left side, so I want to move my numbers to the other side. So I've got plus 2. How do I undo adding 2? I subtract 2. 6x equals negative 1 minus 2. That'll give me negative 3. And then my final step here, 6 and x are being combined together through multiplication. So to undo that, we have to divide. We're going to divide by 6. And we get x is equal to negative 3 over 6. That's going to reduce to negative 1/2. So our final answer there is negative 1/2. All right, so this last problem here, I'm going to have you try on your own. And what I want you to do is make your t-chart, go through and solve it on your own paper, and type in what you get as your answer. This is a minus sign in here. I know it's a little bit small, so I'll make it a little bit bigger. So we've got 5x minus 4 plus 3x is equal to 7x plus 3 minus 4. So go ahead and try that on your own, and then you can type in your answer, and we'll see if you got it correct tomorrow. Other than that, make sure that tomorrow you're logging in, filling out the attendance form, and then you're ready to go for class time. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.